G'day, Andy. How's it going?
Awesome. Yourself.
Yeah, not too bad. Can you hear me? Am I coming through loud and clear?
I can hear you crystal clear. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Excellent. Everything's
Fantastic.
working. That's
Oh,
always good to know.
miracle. Sure.
So, what time is it over there in Australia?
We're 2 hours in the past, so 7:30. I'm not used to being in the past. Usually, I'm in the future every time I speak to somebody. So
Yeah, yeah.
I think you guys are one of the only places that's really in the future. So
At
there's
least
only a
it's
couple.
a minimal time difference. I've had to get up at like 1 a.m. to do interviews in the past. With people on the other side of the globe, and it's a pain in the ass.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
So, okay, well, might as well start. What's the latest with Lord? What's happening with the band right now?
Oh, mate, you're gonna open a can of worms. I'll be here for the next 3 hours.
Go on, go
We're
on.
we're busy. We're really busy. Probably the biggest thing that people keep asking us all the time is, have we got a drummer yet? Damo left the band about a year and a half ago, and no, we don't have a new drummer yet. So what we did, and the guys who saw us last time we were in New Zealand, we had a fill-in drummer, which was Simon from the Wollongong band Trollgan,
Okay.
and he was great, and he did the New Zealand tour with us, a few Australian shows, and did Asia with us. I think that was 2013. Geez, that's going back now already. And we've just been utilising a couple of other people as well in the past. Tom from Tabora, and we're going to do some more shows this year, and keep utilising fill-in guys until our perfect drummer comes strolling along. So
And
we
is
keep,
is that what's
yeah.
taking so long? Are you guys looking for the perfect mainstay drummer?
Well, probably I don't think we are, but maybe other people think we are. Like we're look, the thing that we've tried to do is we got approached by quite a few people, which was flattering to start off with, but we found out very quickly that a lot of them were, to put it nicely, time wasters. We had people that were 18 years old telling us they've been drumming for 16 years, and it's like, all right, you're a child prodigy, okay, no worries. And then oh, I don't have a car and I live on the other side of the country. Can you get me to rehearsals each week? It's
Oh
like, well,
yeah,
no,
I
no,
thought that
can't do
only
that.
happened in the smaller gigs. I didn't know that
No,
still happened when you once you got a
oh
few
yeah,
albums under your belt.
yeah, that's it. So they're the head in the clouds or head somewhere else. I don't know, but yeah, we've had a few people that have actually come in and rehearsed, and unfortunately, it's been a case that, to me, I believe it's more a will thing than a skill thing. The guys that did come in didn't know the songs properly, like as far as the arrangements go, like when
Yeah.
when the chorus kicked in, when the bridge kicked in, and whatever. And so you just thought, how much preparation did you really put in? So we then started to, instead of, because we all live in the Sydney Wollongong area, but we're about an hour apart from each other. So we try to minimise the time together as much as possible. And so we thought, well, instead of spending an afternoon or an evening vetting drummers in a studio, we'll get people just to use their smartphone and record two or three songs. And it doesn't have to be perfect. Just chuck your phone up on the shelf and just record it, and don't worry about editing it. Just flick it through, and it can be raw, it can be a bit dirty and whatnot, but it just gives us an initial idea to see whether you're on the right track or not.
It takes the effort
And
out of it for you guys a little bit
well,
as well, eh?
yeah, absolutely. And we sort of pitch it to the person who's approached us that, I mean, it saves them a bit of time as well. And if they're really keen and they're serious, then it shouldn't be a problem at all, and they should be confident enough to be able to record some drums, and it saves them a day of lugging their gear down. And I mean, drummers are a lot harder than a guitarist or a bass player. You've got to bring your whole kit down and set it up and then pack it down, and it's a bit awkward if things don't go to plan. You got to sit there and slowly. You can't just race out of the room and jump in your car and drive home. You got to slowly pack up your gear.
Oh
So
yeah.
yeah, so it's sort of like the walk of or the pack up of shame. So yeah, we tried to make it a bit easier for everyone, but we did find that well, it probably to our advantage, but it was a bit of frustration as well, that a lot of people that did approach us then just never got back to us after that. And we tried to make it sound that it was very easy. We just said, look, you don't need to have some special YouTube channel or anything of the sort. You don't have to have this fantastic setup. Just chuck your phone up on the. Everyone's got a smartphone these days, so it shouldn't be
Exactly.
a big issue.
Yeah.
Chuck it up and then compress the video down, email it through, or just use a Dropbox, upload link or something like that, and we can have a look, and we can tell straight away if somebody's on the right track or not. And it doesn't matter if they miss a whole bunch of fills and accents that are a little bit sloppy. If we can see that they can get through the song from start to finish, then we know that there's something to work with there. So
Mm,
we've got two guys at the moment that we're working with at the moment. I don't know how far we'll get with them both. I mean, they've both got promising attributes at the moment, but because it's been going for so long, I tend not to get too excited until we get a bit closer to making a decision. So,
is this
yeah.
what's holding up a new album from Lord?
A little bit. Well, no, actually, probably not. I'd after Digitalize, we did quite a bit of touring, including coming over your way to New Zealand, and went overseas to Asia and Europe as well, and did about 2 or 3 Australian tours as well. So we really sort of hoard the hell out of that album, and then after that, it was last year was the 25th anniversary of Dungeon. So we spent the majority of that year putting together that release, which was quite extensive.
Yeah, a friend of mine's got that. He loves it.
Yeah. So, and for people who don't know, I mean, we used to be called Dungeon, and the name changed about it would be 10 years ago that the name changed. But the band itself was 25 years ago, 25 years old last year, and we released a 4-disc box set, which is basically re-recordings of all the Dungeon albums, and then we had a bonus USB pass that had everything digitized, including the original recordings all remastered, and also had a 200-page band biography that was done by Tim, which even for me, I was quite surprised with how good it was put together. So I kind of thought, oh yeah, Tim with his biased opinions and probably over exaggerating some of the stories along the way. I'll take this with a grain of salt, but yeah, I was pleasantly surprised with how he put it together. It's quite modest. It's very fair, given that there's various conflicts over the years with particular people coming and going and whatnot, and very diplomatic but very informative and interesting to know how things happened early in the days and how sort of things progressed to where we are now. Yeah. So it's been a great thing. We sold. We only did 500 copies of it because it's just ridiculously expensive to put together. But we're almost sold out of them, so there's only a few left. So we're just trying to get the last few out the door. But it's been a great response. So we had that last year, and we're in the process now of finalising an EP release that should be out in the next. Well, I'll be modest in the next 2 to 3 months, but maybe a bit sooner.
Okay, so who plays drums on that?
So we got our old drummer TY, who was drumming in Dungeon and also the first couple albums with Lord as well. So TY does a lot of session work with our front guy Tim.
Yep.
At his home studio in Wollongong. TY's not to go off on too much of a tangent, but TY's had a pretty ridiculous music career after leaving Lord. I think he's found more success after leaving us than when he was ever with us as Dungeon or Lord. So he's got 6 or 7 projects that he's been doing. A lot of it sort of black metal and sort of atmospheric, sort of ambient, sort of crazy stuff. Half the stuff's really hard to describe, but he's got all these different projects signed to European underground labels. He gets great advances. He's got this ridiculous cult following that people basically worship the ground that he walks on. And the music's not bad. It's actually pretty good. Like initially he sort of started some of these projects off as a bit of a joke, and they've actually morphed into something pretty top notch now. So yeah, we've been in contact with him quite a bit, and he's always been doing a lot of session work with Tim and writing on the side with different projects. So it was just natural and easy for us just to get him in and give him a few bucks and get him in and swap a bit of studio time for a bit of recording. So we got him in and did the drums, and it was fantastic because the songs, he did the songs justice. I mean, he's been playing those songs for quite a number of years, and he was a fan of Dungeon as a kid as well. So he just grew up with the songs. So he just smashed them out. It was amazing. It was great to hear them with his take on it.
Yeah, awesome. So obviously, you're Lord's heavy metal band. Do you you just said that this drummer that you've been using into the extreme stuff, do you get into that blast beat extreme metal yourself, or are your roots sort of in the heavy metal area?
For me, I grew up like I'm originally from Brisbane, and I grew up in the local metal scene there, and it was just all black and death metal. That's all we knew. And some of my favorite bands are bands from that scene. So I'm not sure how familiar people would be over in New Zealand with some of the Brizzy bands, but some real cult sort of favorites like Misery and Carbon and Ergrund, Astrial. Catacomb, which was a black metal band that wasn't around for a great deal of time, but they were fantastic. And these bands just were massive in the Australian underground scene for quite a few years. And well, I think out of all of them, Astrial is probably the only one that still goes, and they only function, very very rarely each year, but they're still active.
Yep.
So I grew up with all that. I mean, the first bands I listened to are the usual staples of the big four and sort of thrash metal and I guess a bit of sort of just straight up heavy metal stuff. But when you start going to local gigs and you just you're punched in the face with the extreme metal, you kind of just build a tolerance for it, and you end up falling in love with it. So I've always had a big soft spot for it, and a lot of friends and people that I grew up with and still associate with now come from that same scene and play in a lot of these bands still, or new bands that play death and black metal. So it's really cool, and everyone. The great thing about the band is that everyone's sort of got different roots from different areas, and we all love extreme metal to a degree, various degrees depending on the person. And we'd be able to incorporate that in particular Lord songs, as far as putting blast beats in, or some harsher vocals, or even sort of a melodic death sort of riff kicking in, or something like that. So it's the great thing about the band is we can chuck all these crazy elements in there and make it diverse, and but still make it sound like a Lord song.
With the gigs over there, do you get mixed subgenres happening at the concerts? Is there like a death metal band and then a thrash metal band will go on, then you get something glam metal sort of thing? Does it get mixed at all, or do they try and keep to extreme gig here and your power metal gigs over here?
Yeah, probably not to the extreme that you'd probably have something like, as you said, like a glam metal band and a death metal band, or something like maybe the really sort of entry level gigs, like bands just starting up, they may all chuck their mates together and do something that's very mixed bill. But look, for the most part, I wouldn't say it's segregated. I think there's still a bit of crossover with bands, and a lot of thrash bands will play with death metal bands, and I mean, the great thing about us is we'll just play with anybody, and we've always sort of tested the water to see how much we can get away with playing in front of a death metal crowd or a glam rock crowd or something like that. And it's trial and error. Sometimes it works great. Sometimes it just dies in the ass as soon as you get on stage and hit the first note. They just look at you and go, "I'm going to the bar. I'm going to the bar." So, but look, it happens, but not to the degrees where it's just complete polar opposite genres. There's probably just more those crossover elements that people are willing to sort of share a stage with. So, which I think overall is, look, I think if everybody was open with their music tastes and didn't mind, then it probably would be fine. But I think the fact that I think sometimes having a gig with minimal crossover, not the carbon copy of every same band on the bill, but having a bit of a crossover, usually just guarantees a good crowd, and people sort of don't. Especially in Australia, I don't know what it's like in New Zealand so much, but unless the band is shit hot and they're doing really, really well, people will only come out if the overall bill looks strong. So they won't come out for one particular band, because half the times these bands come through all the time. So they go, I'll just wait for them to come back another time.
Mm-hmm.
The lineup overall is not good enough. So you really have to sort of package the bill together to make sure you've got, 4 really strong bands, and not, one strong band and 3 sort of bands that are just all over the place and don't have much of a presence or profile, or completely different genres or whatnot. You have to sort of really be careful with the chemistry until you're a massive band and you can just fill a crowd no matter where you play, fill a room. Then you have to really be careful about who you put on.
You guys would be pros at touring by now, wouldn't you? How many times have you been and played in New Zealand now?
I think it's 3 times. I think, it'd be 3 times. So we came over and did three shows: Christchurch, Auckland, and Wellington, and then Oh jeez, I can't remember now. We've done 3 times, and we've changed the cities around. We've always done Christchurch and Auckland,
Yeah.
but on the 2 other tours we've changed it up and done Wellington, and I think we did another tour in Dunedin, which was we probably could have picked a better night to play down there, but it was still cool to say we've been there and played.
I'm trying to remember who I saw you with. I think you might have supported. Was it Children of Bodom?
No, no,
No.
we haven't been lucky enough to do an international support in New Zealand. I'd like to, and I've been gunning for that for quite a while, because there's nothing
Okay.
better to play in front of a big crowd in another country. But yeah,
I definitely caught Lord. I just can't remember who
yeah.
you
Oh,
guys were
actually,
playing with.
no, I well, there's probably. I mean, where are you based? You're in Auckland.
Yeah, Auckland. Yeah.
Yeah. So okay, so we would have been either. We played the transmission room.
Yep.
Yep.
That's
Yeah.
where I saw you.
And it was a double night, 2 night like mini fest. I can't remember what it was called, but it was an all Kiwi lineup for the night that
Yes.
we played.
Yeah, I
And
remember
we,
it now.
we were
yeah.
sort of halfway through the bill, but it was mainly extreme metal bands, which was a bit of a laugh for us, and we had a great time. And I think we were almost like the intermission band, because we got on stage and all the serious metalheads sort of walked off to go and get a drink, but everyone else in the crowd sort of just lit up a bit, and they go, "Oh wow, this is completely different. It's not all extreme sort of metal. It's something a bit more melodic and some guitar shredding and whatever." So it kind of worked in our favor with that one. It was quite good. But the following night was Morbid Angel, so that was the double header that they had at the transmission room. That was the first time we came out. So, but that was a lot of fun.
Righto, yeah. I definitely, that was the one that I saw you guys play. So, how much work goes into doing touring now? Like, are you guys seasoned pros? Is it easy for you to do Australia and tack on a few New Zealand dates and get it all sorted, or is it quite the rigmarole?
Look, I think Australia's we've got Australia covered to a degree. I mean, there's always room to improve and things to refine and more people to try and win over and get better crowds and better venues and whatnot. But we've done Australia so many times now, it's ridiculous, and we still love doing it. And I've got I guess a group of people across the country that I'll go to first as my first option as far as local bookers and venues to try and get something going. And there's a lot of people I can just put trust in straight away. I don't have to micromanage like I used to on the first couple of tours that we did as Lord anyway. So overall we've been okay. New Zealand we've been pretty good, and it's been more of a case with the drummer situation that we haven't got back over sooner, but we've got our eye on it. But the biggest challenge for us is going into the northern hemisphere to the US or Europe. Asia we're pretty good. Japan and Southeast Asia we've got a good presence in Japan, especially, but Southeast Asia we've made a lot of gains there. So, but Europe's a hard one, and US is ridiculous. But it's more the costings and visas and all that rubbish that deters us. But we're making some proactive movements towards getting to the US potentially next year, and we're approaching a lot of agents in Europe to try and get onto a tour or do something. But look, the hard thing for us, and I mean we do reasonably well here, and we've got a good fan base and decent fan base overseas as well. But when it comes to approaching people in Europe, we're nobody, and it's a needle in a haystack sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
They can turn around and go, well, we've got a band that probably does something similar to what you guys do, maybe not as good, but they're in Germany and they don't have to worry about all these extra overheads, and we can, they don't have to worry about, all these other logistical nightmares. We don't have to babysit them as much, blah, blah. And it doesn't matter how much you try and convince them that we're going to pay for everything ourselves, and we're self-sufficient, and we've got experience on the road. If we haven't been over there and they don't really know us, then you're really fighting a hard battle. But we keep pushing and hoping we get lucky with the right guy who gives us a chance. And
I feel even more sorry for the New Zealand bands. They've got to take the step to Australia before they even really take the step on from there on to Japan and the Asia.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
do you see many Kiwi bands coming over?
Oh, not as many as I would expect.
Yeah. What are the main venues that Kiwi bands or bigger Australian bands like to play in your area?
Look, to be realistic, I mean the venues that we play are usually between sort of the capacities. This is the size of the room is between 300 and 400 person capacity rooms. That doesn't mean that we always get that many people. Sometimes it's far from it, just depending on the competition and lineups and whatever. But look, it depends on the city. In Sydney here, we've got a venue called the Bald-Faced Stag. And that's pretty much a staple venue in Sydney at the moment. Sydney's been a bit rough over the last few years because we've had a lot of venues closed down. But the Stag is a really good place, and a lot of bands come through, and even some of the smaller scale international bands will tour there,
Cool.
tour through there. So it's about a 400 capacity venue, and even if you got like 150 people, it still fills out really well. It's got great sound, great stage, and the local punters are familiar enough with that you don't have to really sort of twist arms to get people there as well. So it's a big plus. But look, there's various venues all over the country depending on where people want to go. And I guess for New Zealand bands, unless you've got a lot of money to sort of spend, you're probably going to look at the Brisbane, Sydney, Melbourne, and that's probably about it to start off with if it's your first time over. Look, I mean, I'll definitely put it out there if any bands are interested in coming over, by all means hit me up online and ask me some questions. I can put you in contact with some venues or even local promoters if I've got some contacts. We may not be around to do any shows ourselves, but I'm more than happy to try and help out and put some recommendations forward. I mean, the more Kiwi bands that come over here, the better for us, because it just sort of bridges the gap. I mean, for us, I don't know what it's like for New Zealand, for the guys in New Zealand, but it's cheaper for us to fly to New Zealand than it is to Perth. And, that never used to be the case, but it's just, there's some crazy airlines doing really great deals. And I don't know how affordable it is in the reverse, but I think the more Kiwi bands that can make the effort and come over even just to do 2 or 3 shows, it's going to open up the scene over there a lot more to us, and a lot of the Aussies will become aware of what's going on, and it'll just bring over more Aussie bands to New Zealand, and it'll just do a bit of trade sanctions,
Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, getting back to Lord, let's go back in time. You joined in around 2005?
The end of 2005. Yeah. So
you were Sedition, weren't you?
Yes, yeah.
And this is what I found interesting when I did a bit of reading up recently, is you played with Sedition, and then the Dungeon bass player joined Sedition and you joined Lord. Is that what happened? Like swapsies?
Pretty much. So I guess long story short, Glenn, who was the bass player at the time in Dungeon, was living in Brisbane. He's from Brisbane, and so am I. So we were friends up there, and he actually played in a local rock band in Brisbane and we knew each other through going to Dungeon gigs and whatever, but through various other sort of things in the local scene. So he joined Dungeon, and then I joined this local band Sedition, and the Sedition thing was great. It was a really good sort of experience because I hadn't really done a great deal of live music before, or just sort of doing the whole, working together as a band. I'd always sort of just done my own thing, and a bit of a bedroom player and whatnot. So I learned a lot of the basic roots sort of stuff to know know what to do and what not to do in a band. And in the meantime, Glenn went from the rock band that he's playing with to playing in Dungeon. And we ended up going overseas in mid-2005 to Europe. Dungeon did to support Megadeth and did a whole bunch of shows over there. And I tagged along for the ride just because I was going to go to Europe anyway. And then I figured, I'll try and seize an opportunity and see if I can tag along with them and just do their itinerary and help carry a few bags and just help out where I can and obviously pay my way. And luckily enough for me, they let me, and it was probably one of the best experiences of my life. And but by the end of that year, people started to move on and whatnot. And Tim had seen me muck around on Glenn's bass when we're on tour, just noodling around, and so he sort of just hit me up when we were back in Australia and said, "Would you be interested in joining?" And I just sort of went, I guess that means I probably need to move to Sydney then. So I just thought, may as well make the most of it. And, if it all dies in the arse, then I can always go back home and with my tail between my legs. But packed up and moved to Sydney at the end of start of 2006, but officially sort of joined in the end of 2005, and I guess the rest is history, as the cliche would say.
Yeah, it's all worked out.
Yeah. So and sorry, just to finish that off, when Glenn left Dungeon, he was living in Brisbane, and obviously a space opened up in Sedition. So I think he and the rock band that he was previously playing in had relocated to the UK. Two of the guys just picked up and moved. So I think for him, it was more a lifestyle thing, and being home in Brisbane and not having to travel so much. And I think Sedition sort of fit the gap, the holes that he had, and he was still able to play sort of melodic metal and Iron Maiden, Queensryche style music, but be local and have the convenience of that. So it fit in really well with him for that period of time. So it was a very it was a very odd situation, a bit of a joke in hindsight of we pretty much did a bit of tag teams and gave a high five and swapped teams. So yeah.
Now, is Lord enough of a creative outlet for you? Do you ever feel I want to start this project, want to start that project, or do you have enough of a contribution in Lord that you feel this is it, this is my thing?
I think for the most part, I'm definitely not dissatisfied with the contribution I have in Lord. I mean, musically, I've contributed to a few of the albums. On the last album, it was just Mark and Tim that wrote the whole thing. And that ended up being more circumstance. And I'm a big believer in, if we've got the songs, we've got the songs, and we shouldn't break our backs and try and get blood out of a stone just to make sure that everyone's got a writing credit and that they're satisfied. In the end, if we've got a common goal, and that's to release an album of a certain standard, and if we can meet that, and everyone. And it's only been a couple of people or one person who's contributed all the music, then fantastic. I mean, we've achieved the goal. So
I think you're probably damn right. I mean, once the tap turns off, the creativity tap, and then you're trying to get everybody's contribution, the well can run dry, can't it?
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, it's an ego thing, and a lot of, depending on the person in the band, I mean, some people can jump up and down and get a bit stroppy because their ideas aren't getting listened to by the rest of the band, or getting rejected or whatnot. And in the end, you've got to maintain a standard. And if you want to be taken seriously from other people, your peers, or even just fans, you've got to just strip the ego a little bit and say, what's best for the band, what's best to keep our standard at a particular point, and even excel and do even better than what we've done in the past. So it's just a combination of things. It's what people are able to bring to the table at a certain time. We usually give ourselves a deadline and say, okay, well, everyone write and do their own things, do their own demos, just do riffs or lyrics or whatever you want, and we'll make the cutoff on this date. And anything past then, too late, unless we don't have enough sort of music. And so then we just flick it all to Tim. Tim's the master arranger. He's been doing it with Dungeon since day dot. So he's got a formula there as far as, we know he's got the experience and the expertise to do it. So unless we've tracked the whole song ourselves, for the most part, we'll just chuck all the ideas and theories and everything through to him, and then he'll start piecing things together and seeing what works, what doesn't. And yeah, we've been pretty lucky. I mean, we're all pretty. Our egos are fairly contained. I mean, sometimes probably people think from the outside it's probably a different case, but internally with at least Mark, Tim, and I anyway, we're pretty cool, and we trust each other as far as what's brought to the table. And if something doesn't work, then we don't reject it, or we don't scrap it for good. We just hold it. So what we find is some riffs and some song ideas we don't end up using for 4 or 5 years because it's just not the right time, or it just doesn't fit, or it just doesn't fit in the mind space that we've got. So sometimes we go back and listen to, I mean, Tim's still got, riff boxes full of stuff that Mark and I have been giving him for the last, 8 or 9 years. And he still finds riffs in there that are still usable. It just depends on where his mind is and where our mind is, and go, oh, well, actually, I need something like this now, and it works. So, but as far as me, I mean, look, I love a lot of other types of music, and I always sort of had this fantasy of doing some sort of other music where I wrote a lot more. But look, I think it may still happen down the track. But my mind, I mean, for me, my role in the band has always been, for the most part, the band manager, the band booker, merchandising, promo, the jack of all trades for the band, and that's sort of taken up most of my life, and I get a lot of satisfaction for that. So it's sort of contained my other urges for the time being, but I find other things that I like to do, and I'm trying to find ways to increase revenue streams for the band and do funny things like crazy T-shirts and.
Well, hang on. While we're on that,
yeah.
you guys are quite the internet sensation for something other than the band's music at the moment.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm alluding to here?
Yeah.
And unfortunately, you are the butt of the jokes, my friend.
Hey, whatever it takes, man. Whatever it takes. So,
now, I stumbled across these. A few of my friends started liking them, and so they started showing up on my feed, and they're hilarious, man. I got to say, they're really well done. For what looks like bad Photoshop, it's just brilliant, isn't it?
Yeah. So what it is?
Who does it? Who makes it?
Yeah, so what it is, it's a cartoon called Mork and Andy instead of Mark and Andy. It's really badly drawn in sort of like Microsoft Paintbrush or something like that. And it's just a comic strip, 4 panels, and it's basically Mark, or should I say Mork, ripping into me about something. So she's paying out on me on whatever. So it's usually fairly extreme verbal assaults, but it's quite entertaining and people love it and get a good laugh out of it. So the way that started was, I guess, for the people who are probably a little bit more savvy with the internet, they'll understand. But for those that aren't, there's a few terribly drawn comics floating around the internet called like Spoderman instead of Spider-Man, and Dolan Duck instead of Donald Duck, and they're drawn in the same sort of style, really badly. The comics themselves, the way that they're written, as far as the captions are written, really badly with bad grammar, bad spelling, and you sort of read it with a funny voice in mind. So it's really sort of, it's toilet humor basically. There's nothing witty about it whatsoever. It's just bottom of the barrel humor.
But it's brilliant at the same time, eh?
Absolutely. So a friend of ours, we used to share these actual comics between each other, and a friend of ours from Adelaide just decided to draw his version of Mark one day, and we just cracked up laughing, thought it was hilarious. And I said, I want one, because I've got to be a part of it all. Yeah. And so sure enough, he did one for me. And then before I knew it, Mark got a hold of it and did this comic and just completely ripped into me. And I was like, okay, that's funny. And then it sort of took off from there. So Mark actually does all the comics.
Right.
He didn't. So our mate from Adelaide drew the pictures, and he just reuses those pictures over and over again and just changes little bits and pieces in the comic. And so he'd done quite a few, and then a guy in Melbourne who used to host a metal program called Distortion on Triple M, so the national program, was a fan of the comics, and he actually told us, you should make a T-shirt sometime. And we just laughed about it, just said, that'd be funny. And then one day I just thought, you know what, let's do it. Let's just give it a shot. See, even if we just print like 10 T-shirts or whatever, we might sell, a bunch to a few mates, and we'll have one ourselves. It'll just be a bit of a laugh, and that's it. So I found a local printer and put them up for pre-order, and they sold like hotcakes, like it's just ridiculous. So I got all the T-shirts today in the post, and I'm gonna later on start packaging them up and send them out to people. And
cool.
I could be onto something.
Okay, so the people who haven't checked out this comic strip, I was actually on the net the other night, and I was trying to bring some up just to have a bit of a laugh and get some material for the interview, but I couldn't bloody find any. So anyone that's trying to have a read through and refresh them or find out what we're talking about here, what's the easiest way for them to read the strip?
Yeah, good question. It may be a bit difficult at this stage, because usually what happens, it's if people have got both Mark and myself on Facebook, then they'll see them pop up in the newsfeed, and that's the only way we've been sharing them. So what I need to do is, I sort of don't want to, I guess, in a matter of words, blow my load by creating this crazy fan Facebook page and sort of really sort of taking it over the top. But I might end up sort of over the next few days, I'll create a photo gallery on the LORD page, and people can check them out there, because in the end, I've got these T-shirts. I've got like probably only about 10 left from the first batch that I've ordered, and I'll be looking to sell them. So I may as well put the comics up on the LORD page and see if people see if people get the joke to start off with, and then if they do, then they can grab themselves a stupid T-shirt as well. But
Awesome.
yeah, it's a bit of fun, and look, I guess for us, I mean, it is about the music, and it is about making sure that people connect to what we do musically. But in the end, we want people to connect to us as people as well. And if people can see that we're having a good time, having a laugh, it helps the band. It helps people get more connected and enjoy what we do. And by doing stupid little things like paying out on each other and doing these stupid comics or whatever, it just gives another aspect to the band and helps people remember who we are. So, if we pop up in conversation somewhere between, two people and they say, "Oh, have you heard of Lord?" and someone goes, "Oh, yeah, they're funny, blah, blah. I love their video clips. They have a great time. They do these stupid cartoons and blah, blah." And it's a bit more of a positive approach than someone turning around going, "Oh, stuff those guys. They've just played crappy power metal. I listen to brutal death metal and that's it." So it's just another positive thing to get out there, and people can just see that we take our music seriously, but we don't take ourselves too seriously. We enjoy what we do and we have a great time doing it.
So does Lord's income stream, is it mainly from touring and then T-shirts and CDs after that, or?
Yeah, look, I think we've been extremely lucky because with our drummer situation, we haven't toured as much as we have in the past. So we still do a number of shows each year, but we haven't sort of really gone full hog like we have in the past. So our main income stream has been through our online store. So all of our merchandise, and last year we sold more merchandise through our store than the last, say, 4 years combined. It was crazy. And
are CDs on the decline with you guys as with everyone else? Is more people chuck MP3s on their phone and all that crap?
No, absolutely not. We smash CDs. We do so well with CDs, but I think the reason, I mean, look, metal bands have got a bit of luck in the sense that stereotypically a lot of metal fans like to collect music.
Yep.
They love owning the physical thing, whether it's vinyl or CDs or whatnot. So that definitely helps. But another thing that we do is we try to change the value of our music. We don't shortchange ourselves, but we don't sell CDs for $30. We don't sell them. We stock price is $20, but we have all these combo deals. So if you buy more than one CD, you're going to save some dollars. We make sure that every order comes with a free CD, which is usually of an Australian independent metal band or hard rock band, to give some of our peers a bit of further exposure, but gives the people who buy from us a bit more bang for their buck. We chuck in stickers, we chuck in guitar picks, we chuck in promotional flyers for tours and bands and whatever. So if the people order a T-shirt or a single CD, they end up getting lumped with all this extra stuff, and it just makes the experience a bit more exciting. So what we then do is that we keep a log of the people that order from us. So we might have John Smith who orders from us, and he gets, pull through my box of free CDs, and I find a CD from band A, and I'll give that to him. Next time he orders, I'll go back to the log and I can see that I gave him that free CD the first time, so I make sure I don't double up. So people who order multiple times will always get a different CD each time, and different stickers and different stuff in there. So it's just a bit of a fan loyalty thing. We've really sort of built that to really take care of the people that support us. And I think cool. because of that, people keep coming back. So we're getting all this return business. So the online store's been our main source of income. Digital sales are massive for us as well, funnily enough, even considering we sell a lot of CDs. iTunes and CD Baby and all those platforms, Amazon Digital, just do really, really well for us. And then I guess the last thing is really the gigs. Because we don't tour as much, we don't get as much income from tours as we used to. But that'll change over time. But we're pretty lucky overall. We've created some great branding. We've really connected with fans to make sure they know that we look after them and make sure that they get value for money each time they support us.
And this New Zealand Lord and Lordy and all that, they're not too much of an impact on the band?
No, not really. I mean, the Lordy one initially sort of, I don't think it gave us some grief. We just got mentioned in the same conversation quite a bit to start off with, but that sort of got forgotten about, just like the band, I think. I mean, the band was all right, but they were a Eurovision
Yeah,
winner, I
yeah,
think. I
yeah.
don't know. So they got a lot of hype at one stage, and they still exist, and they still seem to be doing reasonably well, but they don't get talked about like they used to. So they sort of got forgotten, at least with the circles that we associate with. Lord from New Zealand, though, is a bit of a different story. So we get hassled quite a bit, and the amount of text messages I used to get from people going, "Oh man, they just played Lord on the national radio. I can't believe it, man." I'm like, "Oh, really? That's a bit odd." And then I go back and try and listen. I go, "I don't hear any of us." And they go, "Oh yeah, it didn't really sound like you guys. I thought maybe you had like a guest female vocalist or something." I'm like, "Oh geez, okay, so it's not us." But we've tried to embrace it as much as we can. We take the piss a bit and have a laugh about it. And our latest promo campaign with the dungeon box set that we did, and sort of we got signature guitars through SP towards the end of last year. We've used our promo with the angle. So we're saying, no, we're not the pop artists from New Zealand. No, we're not the ghouls from Scandinavia. We are, a band, Australia's heavy metal pioneers for the last 25 years, blah, blah, blah. So we put a bit of a humour spin on it, but just trying to make the most of that opportunity and see if we can connect with more people because of it. So
That's good. So
yeah,
no serious lawyer stuff from any
no,
camp
no.
to any camp. Like you haven't sent a cease and desist to Lord New Zealand, and Lord New Zealand hasn't sent anything to you guys.
No, well, we can't be bothered from our side, and I'm sure we're not big enough to really worry for anyone else to worry about us. In fact, I'd probably welcome someone, like if it was Lord the Kiwi chick, if she actually put a lawsuit against us, I'd actually welcome it because it'd give us a lot of promo, and it's
Yeah.
got something for us to talk about, and then we can start doing PR. I can start talking to magazines, and I can say, "Oh, poor us, yeah, poor little heavy metal band getting sued by this massive pop artist."
You could
Rah,
always
rah, rah.
start the rumor or something like
Oh,
that,
hey.
eh?
I can, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So,
Yeah.
look, there's always an opportunity, no matter how bad it sounds to start off with.
Awesome.
I've definitely learnt to milk every opportunity and look for the silver lining.
All right. Well, I won't keep you on the blow for too much longer. 42 minutes. Jesus. We can
Yeah,
talk,
sorry,
can't we?
Oh, yeah, well, I certainly can. Jeez, I can crap on.
No
Actually,
worries.
if you don't mind, I might
Yeah.
just say something because.
Oh, sure. Sure.
Yeah.
The mic is yours. Any messages you've got to any of your fans that you want to get across,
Yes.
go right ahead.
Well, probably two things. I guess initially for the people who actually fans of ours over in New Zealand, we will probably look to be back. We were initially looking later this year, but it just depends on the drummer situation. So it may end up being early next year, and it may coincide with the next full album release, not so much the EP. But it depends on opportunities. We still pitch to try and get on tours and whatnot. So if something pops up, we'll be over there. But we've definitely got New Zealand in mind, so we'll be back sooner rather than later. The second thing is for anyone who plays in a band in New Zealand, obviously for metal, and I assume it mainly be metal guys that'll listen to the
Yeah.
given the name of the show. But look, as I said before, with what we do for our store, our online store, we're really proactive in supporting our peers, our other guys in the Australian scene, and making sure that they get exposure that they deserve. And because we've got such a great fan base, not just here in Australia, but people in New Zealand, people in Asia, Europe, and the US, people who constantly buy from us each month. We threw in these CDs from bands. So what we did is we hit up a lot of Aussie bands, friends of ours, and just said, look, or did a shout out on Facebook and said, look, if you got any old promo stuff, like promo CDs that are sitting in a box collecting dust, you've got stickers, you've got flyers, whatever you've got, if you want to and it's not doing anything, shoot it over to me. Because if you bring it over, what I'll do is I'll chuck it in with the orders, and I'll chuck a CD in there. I put a little blurb in there to say, hey, support this artist. If it's not to your liking, pass it on to someone who you think might enjoy it. So suddenly, a band that's had 100 CDs sitting under their bed for the last 6 months, are suddenly getting sent all over the country and all over the world. So it's better that it goes into someone's hand, and the chance that they might like it than it's sitting under your bed collecting dust. So I mainly did that for Australian bands, and it's done really well, and I still get a lot of stuff from bands. But I figured it's probably about time to really sort of push into our neighbours over in New Zealand and try and bridge the gap that appears to still be there to a degree. So look, if there's any guys out there that have got got some old promo CDs or stickers or flyers or anything. Just, I mean, geez, even if you want to seize an opportunity, just make a black and white flyer with your website details and a blurb of what you sound like, and flick them over, shoot them over the pond to me, and I'll chuck one in each and every order. And so it's a great opportunity just to get your name out there and just get people familiar with the fact that you even exist, and especially for those bands that have got CDs, it's an opportunity for people to have something in their hand, and the chances of them putting that on a stereo or in their car is greatly improved than sharing a YouTube link or a SoundCloud link online and getting lost in a news feed. So if anyone's keen and they've got some ideas or got some stuff that they want to flick over to me, by all means, find me on Facebook and or shoot an email through the Lord page, and we can chat and work it all out. But I'm a big advocate for helping other bands, and I figure that the more bands that find success and do really well, it's going to help all of us overall. It's going to increase the live scene. It's going to get more people coming out to live shows. It's going to bring more of a spotlight to New Zealand and Australia as far as the international community goes. It gives more opportunities for international touring, festival appearances, blah, blah, blah. So the possibilities are endless. And for us, it's great because we can chuck extra stuff in our order, which attracts more fans and more money to us. So for fans, it's great because they get more bang for their buck. And for the bands that contribute stuff to us, they get further exposure. So everyone wins.
Oh, great idea, man. And yeah, well, I guess thank you on behalf of all of the musicians you're helping out, because it's, a lot of bands are focused. It's enough of a problem to get their own name out there. They're not even worried about any other band. So for you to even consider helping other bands up is a bloody great gesture.
Yeah, and I hope that, what we're trying to do, and a few other people are starting to jump on board with the same sort of mentality, is that over time people will start to open their mind up a bit and go, you know what, we're going to find success a lot quicker if we are more open to helping each other out. And it doesn't mean that you have to give up all your precious contacts or let someone know of a secret that potentially is going to put your band in jeopardy of an opportunity or anything of the sort. It's more of a case of providing people with advice, being there for each other, and if you meet someone along the way that likes a particular style of music that might not be what you play, but you've got a lot of mates that play that similar music, then passing stuff on and just chucking each other's CDs on merch tables at shows and handing out flyers and rah, rah, rah. I could go on for ages, but it's just slowly changing the mentality and getting more people working together, regardless of the subgenres that exist.
Bloody awesome, man. Okay, anything else you'd any other messages to the listeners before we sign off?
No, I've pretty much exhausted everyone. Just a big thanks for people supporting us, and we'll see you guys soon.
There we go, everyone. Andy Dowling, bassist for Lord. This is set in stone to go out on. Thanks for coming on the show, coming on the network, Andy.
Sure, bro. Sure.
Sure.